Alright, hello everyone, it's Silver Kyle here, and today marks the 1 month anniversary of the Nintendo Wii U being launched here in North America, and I just have to say that I love the Wii U. Out of all the consoles that I own, the Wii U is still the most played console, and even if you combined all the time that I've invested in the other consoles and handhelds, put them all together, all the hours that I played in those, and compared it with the Wii U would still be winning. I just cannot get enough of that console. It is so very fun and different. And it's not so much that it's like, ooh, amazing next generation graphics, because it's not. It's on par with the Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3. It looks nice, it looks very nice, it's HD, but that's not the reason why I love it so much. The reason is mainly because of the gamepad. The gamepad is just, it feels fresh and unique, and it's very addictive. And like, I have 3 games that I bought for the Wii U since launch. New Super Mario Bros. U, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, and Nintendo Land, and out of all of those 3, Nintendo Land is still the game that I have played the most. It's just so fun. It is, when you have 3 to 5 people and you're playing the multiplayer games, it is just hectic and a blast. And even if you just play the single player games like the Zelda or Metroid, they're so good and they're so very addictive. All the other mini games, they're just addictive and they're just so different and unique, and it's just, I love it. So what I wanted to do to kind of celebrate 1 month is talk about the video games that I would like to see released in the next few years that are Nintendo franchises. So, some of them I would like to see brought back because I think Nintendo should really use every franchises. We haven't had a Star Fox in a while. We haven't had an F-Zero X or an F-Zero game in a while. So I really think that this is what Nintendo should do. This is kind of like my wish list. Not exactly what I think will happen, but what a little bit is what I think will happen for some games, but it's also more so just my wish list, not so much the speculation part. And it's what I would like to see in 2013 all the way to 2016. And I don't want everything, every franchise in 1 year, because I want to appreciate games that come out in a specific year. I don't want to be overloaded so that I have a huge backloggery. I just want to have a few games, a few series that I really want in a specific year, and I want to be able to anticipate certain games, so that's why I don't have everything in 1 year. Because some people are like, oh, Zelda every year, basically, or whatever, but I don't like that. I like, a game to have one game, release a sequel, at least 2 years later, if not 3, maybe even 5 sometimes, because then it really feels like a proper sequel. They add enough gimmicks to it, or, make it unique enough and feel fresh enough that it feels like a proper sequel. So that's just how I made this list. So 2013, now most of 2013 is kind of like what everyone is hearing, the rumors. Pikmin 3. Pikmin 3 is supposed to come out next year. I still want it to come out next year. I would have preferred this year for the launch, but that didn't happen, and that's okay. Next year will work. Next is the Star Fox Metroid crossover, the rumored crossover that's going to happen. And I think next year would be a really good time for it to come out because Star Fox turns 20 next year, and it would just be perfect. And that's a really cool and neat idea that if Nintendo, if it succeeds, which I think it would, I think that Nintendo should do that more often. Just have, crossovers every so once in a while to kind of make things different instead of just making a regular sequel. Have a crossover every so once in a while, and it makes sense for the Star Fox and Metroid to kind of cross over. Animals and Humans doesn't make sense, but they're both in the future and in space, so that'll work. They just go through a black hole, boom, there you go. There's your story. Next would be the rumor is that there's a 3D type of Mario game that's not a side scroller, not Super Mario Bros, but just a new another Super Mario Galaxy 3, for example, that will be released next year because Nintendo, ever since the GameCube, they released that Mario the year after the launch. So 2001, the GameCube was launched. In 2002, Super Mario Sunshine. 2006, the Wii was launched. 2007, Super Mario Galaxy. So there's a chance that either a Super Mario Galaxy 3 or just another Super Mario game is released next year. Okay, and the last one for 2013 would be an F-Zero game. We haven't had an F-Zero game since, I think it was F-Zero X on the GameCube, and that was like 10 years ago. So I would really like to see a new F-Zero game that, not like the Nintendo Land one, because it was kind of cool using the gamepad to control it, but I want to see like a really ultra-fast F-Zero game that maybe uses the gamepad to control and steer to an extent like this, not so much like this when it's flipped around on its side. And I just think that if they do it correctly, they could have an F-Zero game released in 2013, a few years later have a Mario Kart release. So I wouldn't want to see both the racers in the same year, because I would like to see one racer played for like a year or two and then the next one can come out. So that's it for 2013. Now on to 2014. This is where I kind of just, this is my own personal preference wish list. What I think would work beautifully in 2014 would be a Zelda HD game. That is what everybody wants, and by that point it would be 3 years since Skyward Sword was released on the Wii, because it was released in 2011, so it makes sense for a new Zelda to be released 3 years later, and I think that that would just be a huge system seller. 2014 with a Zelda would just, so many people would be buying the Wii U. And I was thinking maybe you could have that in 2013, but it's not. 2011 and 2013, two Zelda games is a little bit too close. So 2014 I thought would work a lot better. Now another game that I think should come out in 2014 is Super Smash Bros. Now once again, that's another huge system seller. So I think that if you had a Zelda and a Super Smash Bros. Game released in 2014, the Wii U would dominate in sales. I don't even care if the Xbox 720 and the PS4 came out that year. I just think the Wii U would just, you know, boom, just start printing that money again. Start printing gold. Like, it's just insane how much that would sell. Next up would be Donkey Kong Country Returns 2. Now the reason why I would like to see it come out in 2014 is because Donkey Kong has been around since 1981, but Donkey Kong Country has been around since 1994. So I think that having the sequel to the Wii game coming out in 2014 would be a nice, you know, tribute to the original. Now last for 2014 would be a Wario game, because the Wario, his standalone game, came out in 1994 as well, and I think it would just be cool to have another Wario game, kind of like the Shake It Up game that they had for the Wii game, for the Wii system. I think that would be cool, like, you know, it was like a 2D side-scroller game, and I think that if they did something like that for 2014, that would be really neat as well. Next up is 2015, and I think that they should have Mario Kart released at this point. Now, that would mean that the Wii U did not have Mario Kart for 2012, 2013, and 2014. That's 3 years without Mario Kart. But if F-Zero is there and all these other titles, I think that it would work. And Mario Kart 7 was released in, you know, 2011, so 4 years between Mario Karts is kind of pushing it, but I think that that's okay. And that, I think that would be a huge system seller once again. So that way you have kind of like these big system sellers all spread out across release years. Next would be a Star Fox Wii U game. I think that this would be a good time to finally have Star Fox back on the consoles and have it his own standalone. So he would have the crossover in 2013, and in 2015 have his own game. Another one would be Animal Crossing. Would be a good time for that to come out by this point, because the 3DS game is coming out in 2013, so you don't want to have that, you know, released that close to the handheld version. Another would be Yoshi. I think Yoshi coming out in 2015 would be really cool. His own standalone game, kind of like when he had his own, you know, Super Nintendo game, the Yoshi's Island 2 one there, and then the 64 game. His own version of a game would be cool this year. And finally, 2015 would mark the 30-year anniversary of Mario, and I think that a cool thing would be a Super Mario 8-bit throwback game. Kind of like not an anniversary game that is like, you know, a compilation of all the old games. A new 8-bit game, or 16-bit game. I'm thinking more 8-bit, but something like what they did with Mega Man 9 and 10 for downloadable. Something like that, but an actual, you know, physical copy of it. And I think people would even pay like, you know, 60 bucks for this if it was done well. Last but not least, we're now in 2016. 2016, I would like to see a Kirby game released at this point. I would like to see a Zelda top-down view, because Zelda will have turned 30 years that year, and I think that a throwback to the old school, you know, Link to the Past, or, you know, the first Zelda game on the NES, the top-down view, kind of like what they did with the GameCube Four Swords, something like that. And the gamepad, I think, could work really well for that. I would also like to see Kid Icarus Wii U, because I think it did pretty good on the 3DS, and I think that they could really use the gamepad in a cool way for a Kid Icarus game. And I think it would just work really well. Metroid Prime 4, you know, have Star Fox in 2015, 2016, Metroid Prime 4. with the gamepad. The gamepad would work perfectly for Metroid, just going off what Nintendo Land did with that mini game, which is not really a mini game because it's actually quite long if you play the entire thing. And last one that I would like to see in 2016 is Nintendo Land 2. Nintendo Land blew me away, and I would love to see a sequel of that coming out years down the road when they are completely used to what the gamepad and the Wii U can do. I think it would just be phenomenal. I think that they would just blow us out of the water once again because they would just know exactly what their limits would be with the Wii U gamepad and the Wii U itself. So that's basically my wish list for games that I would like to see coming to the Wii U in the next few years. Thank you all for watching. You've been Bearded In.
Beardage!